Hey, Klaus. How are you, sir? We both came on earlier. You're on mute, sir, just so you know.
On mode. Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Yes.
Are you excited about our session today?
Yeah. I mean, my daughter is going to join. She is Catherine. She has her own agency. She did the website and the presentation. So it's really fun for us to work together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm excited here. We'll see how many people we get. Some weeks we get like 12, 13. Some weeks we get like 6. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout on this. I have the questions open, ready to go. And did you get a chance to look at some of those?
I did, and also I've prepared maybe like a 15-minute overview.
Perfect. That's
I
fine.
just want to make sure that we have a foundation. I mean,
Absolutely.
not everybody knows what is an agent and why
Of course.
it is and what's the status. I mean, since we last talked, man, this thing is moving so fast. It's incredible. I mean, for example, the GPTs that I shared with you, they're totally outdated by now, but they stopped allowing this sharing. So you can no longer
I
code
didn't realize
the
they stopped
GPT.
sharing. We need to have a sidebar on this, but I introduced this to my AI guy who that's all he does is he's in Silicon Valley and he's built a whole bunch of these for decades and been doing this for a long time. And he's like, okay, I definitely would take a look. So I have him looking at this, and he should hopefully sign up for his own demo and prototype because he wants to look more at this as well and see because he's doing a lot in the permaculture and soil side of things and trying to build AI and automations to help with that. So it's really cool. There's a lot of opportunity here.
But the challenge is I can't, the GPTs that you have now access to and that we have in our website are outdated. I mean, they're like several iterations behind, and I can't update them anymore because they're basically,
You
uh,
can't deploy a new agent.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully my guy that I'm talking to, man, will maybe have some ways that you can deploy this on a different system and stay in,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
still have the same solid functionality that you want out of this.
Well, we also developed a new solution in the meantime.
Oh,
We found a way to make it work.
oh, that's cool. Heck yeah. All right. I'm active over here. There's a whole bunch of otter and note takers that are trying to come in. So I'm trying to kick those out and allow the right people to come in. So just give me 1 second here.
Yeah,
Oops.
yeah.
I allowed the wrong one. Danuja, good to see you. Leopold, good to see you, sir. I don't know if I've seen you here in one of these yet. I'm happy you're here today. Happy to see you.
Hello,
Hi,
good to be
Danuja.
part of this. Hello. Hello, Klaus. Thank you for
Hello.
doing this.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so we'll give it another few minutes or so. The last meeting just ended, and usually there's an overlap before everyone gets in
Hmm.
here. So, Klaus, we'll start about 5 after. So, between now and then, we can just chat. And
Okay.
there's people coming in right now. Hi, Catherine. Hey, David. Dr.
Hello,
Brian, good to
thank
see
you
you.
for.
All right, everyone, we're going to get kicked off here right about 5 after. So, we'll give it a few more minutes, let people come in. Uh, Klaus will then give a summary about his project, and then we'll jump right into questions. So give us a few more minutes. And if there's anyone who has not seen the questions or had a chance to add anything to it and they want to, I'll put that in chat. So here's our short summary on Klaus, which Klaus will give his own summary. And here's some of our questions that we have in here right now. So please take a look if you want to have any questions added. by all means, you can add right to the bottom of the list, or just throw your questions in chat.
Okay, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Test.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay, I'm gonna get back on the road now that I've configured this.
All right, for everyone who just came on, we're giving it till 5 after to get kicked off here. Klaus will give a summary. In chat is a link to the Google Doc and our questions for our interview. If you have any questions you want to add, please feel free to add them in chat, and or you can add them to the Google Doc. I need to get some like music playing in here when we're like, everyone's sort of coming together. I think that'd be great. David, what kind of music do you like? Let me ask the Godfather here. David, what kind of music do you want?
Like, Texas Outlaw kind of stuff, right?
Texas Outlaw? Okay, I can get like some
Hey,
Brothers
Carl.
or something like that. And okay. That's funny. All right, I think we have a quorum here. We're going to go ahead and get started. One more time for those who may not have seen it, in chat is our interview document, and we're going to get kicked off here. So, everyone, first and foremost, welcome to GRC Regenerative Iteration. This is a group where we're looking at real projects in real time and really trying to understand what makes them special, what makes them unique to their own ecosystem and the problems they're trying to solve. And if we were to build this in another location, or if we were to build this again somewhere else, how do we iterate it and make it better? What are the things that we would want to pull out of it and really, really improve on it? This is not something to put someone on the defensive. This is someone to a session to rejoice and learn about a project and ask thoughtful questions to learn more and to go deeper on this. The whole attempt of this session is to start really, really diving into specific programs and start to build more of a lessons learned in commons throughout GRC overall. So by all means, if you have a question, you're like, I don't know if I should ask that, throw it in chat. We'd love to get the questions out there, and Klaus will do his best to answer all of these questions for you guys. Next week, we're doing a little bit of a format change. And at the beginning of the session, we want to pick what we want to talk about for next week because interrupting the whole flow of the conversation was too much. So we currently do not have a speaker for next week. So if there's anybody that anyone wants to see coming in here and us to interview, here's our chance. Please come off of mute, throw out some names and or contacts, and I will reach out happily and set up the meeting for next week. So if you know anyone who you want to have in here come in for an interview, please come off and mute and tell me what you think. Not everybody at once. That's all right. Okay. I'll let you guys brainstorm and sit on it for a while. Again, we don't have an interview for next week. I need one. So as we're going through this session, if someone comes to your mind,
I got one.
shoot me a message. Go ahead, Dr. Brian, please. Thank you.
Interview Tony Seba or James Arbib about Stellar. Or anyone from the
James
Stellar Rethink X group team.
Okay. Do you have access into Tony Seba or James Arbib?
I have one email from Tony in the last month.
Okay. Okay, let's try that first. And if it doesn't work for you, I will cold outreach if that's okay with you, Dr. Brian.
Yeah, I'll CC you.
Okay, yeah, please make an introduction and you can just sort of hand it off to me as well if you'd like to.
Sounds good.
I'd love to interview those guys and to learn more. I did start reading your books, the book Stellar, so I'm really enjoying it so far. So yeah, this will be great. Anyone else before we get kicked off for today? Anyone else you want to see come in, interview? Any projects you're like, man, I want to learn more about that project? Here's your chance.
Yeah, I got one. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
The Resilient Communities Network is coming online, I guess is a good way to put it. One of the challenges we're seeing is our founder, the founder for the network, is his job essentially is he's a troubleshooter for communes. So when a community comes into trouble with their board members or their members are upset or something, then they bring him in. But the community he's a member of is imploding, right? There's several what he calls bullies have come in and tried to take over, get their way, and some people are siding with the bullies, and other people are leaving because they go like, "Well, I don't want to be bullied."
That's awesome. That'd be a
so,
great interview.
yeah,
Do you have access to
yeah.
this?
I do. Yeah, I talk every week. We talk,
Okay.
and I'm on their whole system.
If you don't
and Slack
mind, just
channels and all.
Dr. Brian, if you can make an intro and a handoff, I'd love to explore that. Thank you so much, sir.
Bet.
All right, everyone. So we got 2 here, and what's going on at Fly Ranch? Dave Winslow just put one in chat for Fly Ranch. Is that still a thing? So, anyone know about Fly Ranch in chat and have an inroad or a way in with them?
Yeah, I guess we'd have to find maybe Bobby Fishkin knows somebody.
Okay.
Fly Ranch is the land next to the Burning Man bought, and they were going
Got
to
it.
create
I'll
like
reach
a
out to Nikki as
regenerative
well and see
farm or
if he
something.
has any contacts in there as well. So,
Yeah.
David, I'll explore that one then for us. All right. So that said, we're done with planning for next week. I appreciate you guys. And I'm so excited for today's interview. Klaus has a very long resume of impact and projects he's worked on at a very high level over his life. And I love Klaus's mission right now and what he's working on. So I'm so excited for this interview. For those of you who don't know, Klaus is a longtime member of the GRC and is now coming back just to share what he's working on today. So Klaus, with that, please take it away. We'd love to have a summary of what you're doing, and then we'll jump into questions, sir.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Just a brief background. So to help explain where I'm coming from, I worked for the Walt Disney Company for 21 years as a food systems designer. I was a director of development. I did the Disney's California Adventure, Hong Kong Disneyland, designed food systems, for theme parks, hotels, entertainment centers, and so on. All the way from like inception, the moment we got funding, to operational startup. So I was actually then the operator as well, hiring 1,800 people and 400 chefs and opened 28 restaurants on the same day, that sort of thing. In my last job, I was working for a German food wholesaler, one of the largest food wholesalers in the world, located in Germany, Düsseldorf. I was a corporate strategist. My title was corporate head of target group marketing. And I had teams in 30 countries. We were operating in 30 countries everywhere in Eastern Europe, from Czechia to Poland to Russia to China, India, Japan, and so on. So everyone, anyway, our mission was to create market research, market segmentation strategies, and then train our sales force with over 6,000 salespeople in the field to identify customers, their needs, and so on and so on. So I retired now in 2012 and have scared myself ever since looking at sustainability issues in the food system. I was totally unaware of the damage that our industrial food system is doing to the environment. And I've really spent my retirement time focused on, what do you do with this? So I worked with several NGOs. I'm on the national team for the Sierra Club, the grassroots network, Food and Ag. I was working with Citizen Climate Lobby, the Al Gore organization, and so on. And so just had a lot of conversations that are also linking into lobbying the legislative process in Washington and the Farm Bill, which has now totally gone haywire. We're back to the future here. But anyway, so my personal observation is that, yes, the farmer needs to change what they're growing. It's right. In order to restore soil back to health, you need to change out your crop and your crop rotation. Now you need to bring in, let's say, a perennial grain. You need to restore your soil microbiome back to health for 1,000 reasons. Nutrition, hydrologic cycles, water holding capacity, biodiversity. I mean, everything is linked to the health of the soil. So we're all going to farmers and we want them to change and go into regenerative applications. And so what does that mean? That means maybe the farmer needs to grow sorghum or maybe kernza or maybe lentils or peas, right? So it's crops that sequester nitrogen into the soil, restore the soil. So then comes the question, who's going to buy this crop? And so there are now commitments where you have Walmart and Kroger and Kellogg, Nestle, you name it. Everybody has a big commitment of changing millions of acres into regenerative. And then you ask, well, how are you going to do this? And there's like silence, right? There's no plan anywhere on how this is actually supposed to work. And when you dig a little bit deeper, then it's really modifications of industrial agriculture. It's not really regenerative, in a sense that this radical transformation of what a farmer grows would be required to truly regenerate the soil. So that's one part, right? Then let's say you have a buyer. They're saying, okay, we're going to buy kernza. Like, microbreweries are now starting to use kernza. It's a super productive crop from a soil health perspective. Okay, so you have a potential buyer, you have a farmer who really wants to grow it. Well, is there a mill someplace that can process this? Do you have an aggregator, that can handle this crop? So the entire supply chain has been so disrupted, that when you come up with differentiated crops, there is no pathway for this crop to reach the market, even if you have a buyer and a farmer in place. There's this middle missing. So my feeling has been, and this is now, I've been working on this for several years, is what we need is an innovations broker. You need innovations brokerage that connects market participants, right? So someone an entity knowledgeable enough about the entire farm to market supply chain, but connecting, knowing where there is spare capacity in silos, where do you find a processor that can handle this particular crop, or inform the investment community saying there is a documented demand here that requires an investment in processing capacity, in transportation capacity, in storage capacity, that sort of thing. So that has been my focus, and so currently I've started to work with AI, and I've been on an AI beta test team before it was actually released to the public, and I've been working, I think, over 2 years now, developing an AI, training AI, right, into this capacity. So the current thing, and this is what you see on my website, is a multi-agent AI system. That's currently the talk of the town. If I can share my screen for just a moment. So what we have, let me just get this open. So what we have set up, our vision here is to create a multi-agent AI team that specializes along this supply chain. So you have a specialist, for the farmer. You have a broker in the middle that moves crops, from farm to market, and you have a carbon market broker that is trained to understand how a farmer can generate and sell carbon credits, environmental credits, watershed repairs, biodiversity, all kinds of programs that are out there. So that agent is assisting the farmer to generate an additional cash flow, revenue flow, to support this regenerative transition. So then you go, well, what is this agentic or multi-agent thing all about? It just has totally exploded. So when you go on a search, type in multi-agent AI in your search engine, you come up with dozens of agencies and new businesses you never heard of that have formed in this space. And so this is 6 months ago, no one talked about agentic AI, right? I mean, it's a completely new thing. And not only are we now talking about agentic, but we're talking about multi-agent AI. So let me explain briefly, sorry, share. Let me explain this briefly here, what, why, and how. So when you think about AI, sorry, am I still sharing screen? I don't, right?
No, it's just you. You're fine.
Okay. When you think about AI, the knowledge base, the data this thing has is just amazing, right? It's massive. It's 10,000 years of human evolution. It knows biochemicals, it knows quantum physics, it knows every religion, every scientific field, that has ever been recorded, and it has all of that at its reach. So when you ask it a question, it only has a predetermined processing time that it can access this database with. So if it goes into this huge data field here, it may not find what it's looking for because it doesn't have enough time to really trim this down. So it comes back with whatever it could grab or what it thinks should be there, and it gives you that, and that's what we call hallucination. So you have sometimes 40–50% of your responses when you go really into technical fields that are hallucinations. But famously, Kennedy came back with a study for his health department there, and the thing quoted studies that didn't exist, right? So what you have to do is, and this is the idea of a GPT, and this is the idea of an agent, these are verticals. So what you do is you frame in the database in a vertical way so the agent has a pre-curated database to work with, which is what it needs to get into for your question. So for example, the technical service provider, the TSP, is linked into USDA. It knows about Rodale Institute. It knows about Soil Health Institute, Regenerate America. It knows everything that is required, to restore the soil microbiome back to health and why you would want to do so, right? So it provides a much higher degree of competency in its response than you would get if you had an open AI, where now half of what you get is just useless. So let me show you. So the way the way I have trained these things, when you go on this is my original website, and Catherine also, by the way, Catherine is our marketing and brand lead. She's on the call here. So this is what I created, Catherine and I, 18 months ago or so, as an agency format, and then we have been working with AI, quite a while ago now. And so the way I program these AIs is by writing what we call a neobook, and that neobook has an introduction kind of flow. Here's what you need to know about regenerative agriculture. So here, for example, the story of soil. So it really starts way back. How did agriculture evolve? What is the history of agriculture? Mesopotamia, civilizations that came and went because the way they were treating their soil and all of that. And then leading from the future is sort of a theory U kind of approach to where do we go with all this and what do we need to know. So this is ground-based knowledge of each agent, right? This is in their base vocabulary. And so that so that is how these agents then have been trained, and it goes into, of course, a whole lot more. I mean, there is literally 2 years of development into curating this database that went into these AI agents, right? So then comes the question. How then a question of cost. So OpenAI, and I think this is really poorly understood. I mean, it's a non-profit group, really. It gets a lot of flack and a lot of negativity and so on. But they really have worked to democratize access to AI. So I can do all of this stuff with my $20 a month account. Right? Because I can set up GPTs, and this GPT setup has all the capacity that you need to create an agent. The architecture within GPT design is totally sufficient, and it's actually very sophisticated. And I mean, costs next to nothing. I mean, $20 a month. So the challenge now is. And that just came up with the release 4. When they came up with the release 4. So I have now these 5 agents sitting there, and actually several other GPTs that are developed. But the challenge is, how do you make them accessible, right? How do you get them out? And so what we found so far is what is called a white label platform. A white label platform means you transfer all your instructions and your training files over onto this platform, and then that platform hosts the agents. Well, as it turns out, first of all, companies that make this thing work, they spend 6 and 7 digit figures on this. It's hugely expensive in engineering time because the technology is not mature enough. And then on top, so we did actually work. We had volunteers, volunteer engineers who worked with us to see if we can pull this thing off, and it just doesn't work. It's just not unless you have, you can bring $500,000 to the table and hire several engineers to code this. And this is what big companies are doing, right? I mean, they have this engineering staff. So so we have been working around, and I gave Sage an example of sharing my GPTs. We thought that may be a solution. Well, they just cut that off. OpenAI doesn't want to go that route, so they just canceled that program. But what they opened up was an interim solution that's actually quite attractive, and that's called OpenAI Team. So if I just give you a quick look on what that looks like here, it's to go ChatGPT for Business powered by OpenAI, and it's called a ChatGPT Team. And the way this thing works is that you set up an administrative account. That means I would bring it would transfer my curated database and history from my individual account to this team account. And then you can add team members, as many as you want, who then can't access my direct data. They can't access my IP in the admin account, but they can use the GPTs, and the GPTs are trained in exactly the same way that I would use them, and participate in this. So that's currently the option, is to develop a team approach. And when you think about the team approach, then now it gets more complicated because now what you can do is create a white label platform, right, where a team member may have his or her own company, but uses this AI as a support structure. So you have a back office AI capacity that is curated. It's continuously updated. It advances. The more people are using it, the smarter it gets, that sort of thing. So that's sort of what I had so far.
Wow, so thank you for that summary. That was great and way to catch us all up. I appreciate that you also included your struggles with tech as far as helping to try to deploy this as well, because all of us are trying to implement AI at least at some level within our business and or at least to get a litmus test or summarize information. And it's difficult when you are getting kind of hallucination outputs that are not subject or based on reality. It's really just based on the information. There's no context. So thank you so much for this. Guys, we're going to go ahead and start opening up for questions. So just so everyone understands that Klaus is still working through a lot of these problems in real time. So this is a good chance to talk about some of the struggles and lessons learned through this as well. So think of those two as you're coming through this, if there's any questions along those lines as well. So Klaus, I know some of these you're not going to be able to answer because of the state of development that you're in. So we're going to still run through these and we'll work through these as we go. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, before we start, anyone have any questions or thoughts, anything? Tanuja, I just saw you come off of mute. Did you have something?
Yeah, just a very quick question, please. You talk about brokers, right? And my understanding from your description is that the AI was trained on information available for the different agents. Where is the brokering piece, connection between two entities?
Right. So in my mind, these agents are support tools. They don't replace anyone. So technical service providers are a really important component in this regenerative transition. And all of us worked really hard, to get legislation passed, like the Coal and Climate Solutions Act, that was designed to empower USDA to develop standards and training material to hire technical service providers as subcontractors. Last time I checked, they have 4,000 openings. They can't fill them, because there's a lot of knowledge required, and they're not making a ton of money. So this could be a tool. The TSP agent actually is trained to help you get certified. It can tell you where to find the application. It helps you get through the training process. And once you are certified, it helps you with the entire process of contacting a farmer, developing a farm assessment, farm recommendations. It even helps you find grants. It helps you to write grant applications. So that's what this agent is trained on. So it amplifies the productivity of a TSP.
Thank you.
Tanuja, did that answer your question? Good. Klaus, your platform is a team of AI agents. So technology aside, how would you like to deploy this? How, in the perfect world, would you see this in practice? Not based on technology limitations, but in your view of how you would like to set this up in a perfect environment.
So we are having conversations with several groups for within OGM and outside of OGM. And the challenge right now is to do a proof of concept. So we need 2 or 3 or maybe no more than 5 partners, beta test partners, who are willing to step in and see how they can embrace this and integrate this and make it useful. And so we have a guided program for potential beta testers where we can do an assessment of your business and your clients particularly, and how you could deploy this. But that's the critical piece right now, is to get into a prototype. And the way it would work is that we have a curated team account, meaning we are the admin at the admin part, and then you would get an account, your own account. It costs $30 a month, And that account, first of all, gives you unlimited access to our curated database and to the agents, and it protects your data because it's your own account. So as you are developing your own business with it, the data for you is contained on your account. So that's the next step, and then hopefully coming out of this, first of all, OpenAI is advancing like crazy, to this OpenAI platform. By October, November, I think they're going to have a multi-agent hosting platform out already, right? But it would give us time to really test this. What is really important is this curated database, right? Is it really working? Is it competent enough? Is the error rate manageable, and those sorts of things.
Thank you. Thank you. Follow on to this. How does or should your AI adapt responsively to evolving farm conditions versus relying on static data modules?
Well, that's the whole reason why you would pay for participating, in a curated database. So part and that's also why we need to raise some money to make this work, because we will need some engineering talent on staff to continuously update these knowledge bases. The system is already quite flexible in that it goes out. It doesn't download a file and then sit on it. Each time you ask it the question, it goes to the file. So if USDA updates a file, you get always the latest version of it. Right? So the same is with grants and regulatory issues. The system will always go to where the actual information sits, instead of downloading it and then seeing it age.
Thank you. Thank you. So right now on your prototype, what do you feel is working really well, and where do you feel you still have a lot of room for improvement, or you're still seeing hallucinations or misfires emerging?
So the results you get, I'm going to give you, here's a file, sort of an invitation to test our prototype, and there are some sample conversations in there that show you, the how this thing interacts. The TSP agent is very powerful. I mean, it is really pretty amazing. You can get, if you ask it, I live in Sisters, Oregon. I just got a farm outside Sisters with a highly degraded soil. Can you give me a recommendation for a cover crop I should be using? It gives you several seed mixes. It gives you the address or the contact of a seed manufacturer in Sisters and in Bend. And then it gives you an idea on what's the most profitable crop to use on a return per acre. So that thing really works. The solutions broker is getting pretty good. And the carbon broker so far is untested. I think it gives good answers, but that needs to go on the test ride. The challenge, twofold, as we were working on the white label platform. One is we developed a hallucination guideline frame. So there's actually a program that constrains hallucinations with the agents. So they are instructed, if you don't know, say so. If you're not sure, give a degree of certainty. Don't say it's this is it. No, give me a percentage degree. No, high, medium, low, or whatever. And so that has really constrained the misfires that we see out of this. And then the other thing we developed, and which is still in testing, is the handover protocols. So the idea is that you go to the concierge agent, you have a general discussion with this, and then you're asking something really specific about how does this carbon market thing actually work? And then the concierge agent will say, well, let me kick you over to the carbon agent, because that's too technical for me. So the agent, so those are two unique touch points that we have developed, which really bring a lot of IP into these agents, into the system,
I'm going to go to a user-generated question. So you understand the food market and you understand the transition from monocropping and regenerative farming. You've seen a lot of those systems. You're helping to solve some problems, but stepping aside from this, what do you personally feel is one of the maybe like the top two problems for farmers wanting to transition from traditional monocropping into regenerative farming? What do you think that the top two biggest problems from your perspective are that's holding this movement back?
It's access to markets. I mean,
Say
clearly,
that again, please.
access to markets, accessing markets, right? I mean, I have this great crop that I would like to grow here. It's perfect for my location, my climate, my water, and the tools that I have already. But who's going to buy this? So that's one serious constraint. And then the other constraint is resources, right? I mean, when you are a farmer who goes year by year and you have tiny margins and you want to change the types of crops you're growing, chances are you're losing yield in the process, right? I mean, you make a cover crop that doesn't pay anything back. It's just more cost. It doesn't, you can't sell it, but you have to pay for it. So this is where this carbon market poker comes in, because just give you one idea. Tesla last year got $2.3 billion for carbon offsets. Now, why does Tesla get $2.3 billion for carbon offsets? Can't we build a case to pay farmers? Can't we go to Microsoft and Apple and all these companies that buy this stuff and say, a far better investment, return for your investment would be to work with farmers. So it's that, but then the question comes, do you have a program that is credible, trustworthy, right? Verifiable, additionality and all of those things. And the carbon broker has state-of-art knowledge to what's happening out there, not just in the US, but worldwide, because I did have it take a run on what's happening in Europe, what's happening elsewhere. So those two pinch points, right, is where do I sell this stuff to, and who's going to pay for the transition?
Thank you. Those are great. Again, guys, if you have any more follow-on questions for some of the things, or you're like, oh, I want to go deeper in some of those, just drop it in chat. How are you going to work, and whether you're solving this now or in the future, but how are you going to ensure data security and farmer ownership of insights and outputs?
Yeah, so the way we could structure this is now a work in progress, right? So we need beta partners to really think this through also. But you could think of it like a co-op. This AI team approach right now could be a co-op where farmers want to pool some of their know-how into the group, right? I mean, if you come up with a grant that no one knows about, and you put it into the system, everybody connected to the system now knows about this grant. Or there's a new biofertilizer out there, right? Someone just came up with a great product there. Well, if you're in the system, instantly everybody shares that kind of information. So the more people are using it, the smarter it gets, right? So that's the idea behind it. So now there may be some data that you want to keep private, and this team approach actually lets you do that, because it's literally like having your own ChatGPT account, right? This just happens. So everything you put in there, your own private configurations and so on, that's you. But you're also linked into this larger curated knowledge base at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of the best of both worlds there. How it scales, I don't know yet. I mean, I don't know how far you can take this. You know, if you're talking about a few dozen people, that's probably manageable. If it gets much bigger, then that's probably complicated, and it may require to move over to a white label platform. So, but those are things you have to really talk about.
Yeah, of course, of course. So this is a question for you, but actually this is a question for some of the people in our group as well. We have some AI experts in this group right here, so I want to make sure I can get this question and everyone gets a chance to answer this. So Klaus, by all means, take it first, and anyone also wants to jump in, please jump in afterwards. And then Tanuja, I'll get you next. So how might this AI approach shift power dynamics and advisory relationships, especially between local farmers and external experts? And this doesn't have to be just related to this system, but as AI is coming out in emerging technology, I'm curious if you could broaden that just a little bit. How do you think that's going to change overall?
Well, in my mind, this is really why I'm doing this. My agents are totally focused on regenerative agriculture, right? So they're instructed to avoid industrial forms of farming and to support a regenerative transition. And so to me, this is a democratization of power, of knowledge, right? Because you can access databases, knowledge bases that would require a big staff to a whole group to work with. This thing can generate a report on. I mean, I did one sample report for Business Oregon. That was Business Oregon is a state agency that directs investments into infrastructure and so on for Oregon. So I met with the regional director here, and I said, well, let me give you an example. Let me do a gap analysis. So I had this in 2 hours. I developed a gap analysis to what's missing in the infrastructure of the high desert of Oregon to connect farmers with markets. It came out, it cited studies from Oregon State University, from different NGOs, from other agencies. It brought all that stuff together. It just found it, right? It would have taken me, I mean, it would have taken somebody weeks to consolidate all this information. And it came up with a stack. These are the 5 things you need to do in the high desert of Oregon, in this priority, high impact investments. It's that kind of, that's democratizing knowledge.
Was it right?
It was totally spot on.
That's good. It's good. Sorry, next follow-up little question. Tanuja, you want to jump in, please?
Yes, so my question was also, by the way, you've done some very, very thorough and interesting thinking, so congratulations already. You mentioned that you have trained the agents to give confidence measures and to say, I don't know, when they don't know,
Right.
rather than to hallucinate. Does that work? I mean, does the agent know that it doesn't know?
Yeah, absolutely. And don't tell me how they know, but they do know. Actually, all of my responses, when I talk about, other issues, it will give a degree of certainty. This is an 80%. This is a 60%. I'm not. It's fairly certain, but not proven. But yeah, it will do that. And for certain technical things, you can direct it. Only give me high certainty responses on this topic, and it will limit itself to that.
Wonderful. So I'm in the space of regenerative investing. So the idea is to investors, as you know, are macro thinkers, and they tend to enjoy and have a general view of things, like they're generalists in whatever sector they're in. They're generalists in that sector. And so here's my question. What would you like to see in regenerative investing that would aid what you're doing?
Well, this is actually one of our target markets. Yeah. And this is what I was just doing for Business Oregon. It's called a gap analysis. I just did because we are in marketing discussions and branding discussions. I had the AI go out and do a deep search. I used the O3 model in research mode. Tell me what's happening with AI around the country. You know, research every educational institute, every community college, every science institute. How are they using AI? What are they doing with it? And what they found, what the report came back with, was a whole bunch of projects. Virtually everybody is starting to work with it, but they're all in silos. They're all in one topic, right? And so so then I had it give me a gap analysis and tell me how Food with Thought would fit into this. And what it came up with is exactly what you're saying. This meta perspective is missing. You know, no one yet has created an AI capacity that understands that you have to move product from the farm to the market, and that each participant in there has a role. You can't change anything without changing everything, right? If the farmer changes into sorghum, you need to have a mill that can process this. You have to have an aggregator. You know, you have to have trucks. And then you have to have CPG manufacturers who are prepared to use sorghum and integrate it into their recipes. That's what we are doing. That's what I understand under innovations brokerage. So actually, it's a perfect tool for investors to work with, because you can go into any specific market, whether that's in New York or Illinois or Oregon, and say, give me, you know, a gap, what's going on here, you know? And it will generate the data out of it, and it will pull all the studies that universities, extensions, and so have already done on this topic. You know, so it will draw from existing knowledge bases that haven't been coordinated yet.
Yeah,
All right, everyone,
lovely.
we are at our final 10 minutes here. So you're going to start seeing me do one of these. It's just to wrap up the conversation to ensure we do have time for other questions to get through some of these. Klaus, I got a couple of questions from the group. One of the first ones, we were talking about brokerage and we were talking about aggregators on this. So do brokerages, do they need to be localized, and does the geographic density of adoption really matter? And I think this sort of goes on to centralized versus decentralized aggregators and or fulfillment on that. And I know you have a lot to say about that, so I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Agriculture is local. You know, I mean, the agriculture depends on your local soil, the type of soil that you have. It depends on your climate, your local climate. It depends on your access to water. And it also depends on the socioeconomic circumstances of a farmer. You know, access to labor, kinds of tools you have, and so on. So that the client base that you're dealing with. So yes, it's hyper local. Even within a farm, you have localization, right? Because you have one field that has south exposure, the other field is spot dry. You need to irrigate it, and so on. So even within your own fields, if you have a 2,000-acre farm, now you may have 5 or 6 different farms, really, when it comes to what you can grow or what you should grow. So yeah, it's hyper local. So, and that's really what we have done here, that there is a core knowledge base that applies generically to what is regenerative agriculture, what is soil health, you know, how do you create soil health? And then there is a localization factor. So if you ask the TSP agent, for example, I have a farm outside of Dallas, Texas, and I just bought it, and here's what I'm looking for. It will hyper hone down to, okay, so you're located in this climate zone, now in this particular location, and so on. Absolutely, yeah.
And that was my question, Klaus. And I was just trying to think of like where the market opportunities were for you guys. And I'd love to hear kind of what your experience has been with like customers. But one seemed to me like some version of aggregation, because I mean, it's fine to say you've got a farm in Dallas, Texas, and a farm you got in Portland, but if your problem is distribution channels, right, they're separate still. So it seems like if there was some way for you to, you know, like help with the aggregation in a geographic area, then that might give you leverage, kind of. That, you know, and certainly for some kind of a distribution channels, it could. So that was just one thought. And so I stuck a link in the chat for this book, Lentil Underground, where she talks about the problems of being an organic farmer in Montana. But, you know, there's a couple of organic farms surrounded by massive, not organic farms, right? And which seems to be the problem everywhere. It's like you have these little scattered kind of regenerative efforts, but can we aggregate these efforts so that they actually have some kind of political influence and market influence and stuff like that? But anyway, so I was just wondering about kind of localization as a strategy. And then the other strategy, it feels to me like we repeatedly heard that there is a kind of a 2 or 3 year gap in there's a valley of death transforming from a traditional or organic farm to a regenerative farm. It does seem like if you could shorten that gap in some sense, you know, if you could make that 3 year gap a 2 year gap, then that's, you know, that's a real value add kind of thing. And if you, you know, I'm just wondering how you think about the market opportunity and what are you seeing people receptive to?
So we came down to being a back office support system, you know, like Salesforce, or you know, so we are supporting a front business. So the main target markets could be seed growers, there could be farm advisors. I mean, there are dozens of companies or investment funds who are looking for, you know, data. But basically, our mission is to curate a database that is very powerful and train these agents so they're super competent. And the TSP agent today could already, if you ask it, I mean, if you want to go on to a one-on-one, I can show you how the agent would already respond if you ask it, what can we do to shorten the code time? Or can I use, instead of a cover crop, can I use a cash crop that is regenerative in nature? For example, Kernza is, right? You don't need to necessarily do a seed mix cover crop. You can do certain cash crops that have regenerative functions, so and shorten that time. So this is all quite possible. But the bottom line is, you know, that we give you state-of-the-art access to knowledge, you know, best available information, and that's our mission. It's not to actually engage in the market itself.
And the farmers have been receptive to that?
No, and I don't think our product is sufficient yet. No, I talked with Paul Overby, for example, and he's like, "Oh my God, my seeder just broke down. I can't focus on this." And so we really need to go into beta testing, and have 2, 3 companies saying, "Yeah, let's take a look at this and see where we can take it."
Klaus, a few more questions here, and we're going to wrap this up, everyone. Klaus, just going to my closing questions. What's the one question I should have asked today, but maybe I haven't thought about it yet, or I haven't got to that? What was something you were hoping I would ask?
Good one. Yeah, no, it's maybe what can we do to connect you with a potentially interested beta tester?
I love it. I love it. That was gonna be my follow-on questions. How might we connect with you, and how can we help you on your journey? So let's talk about this then and just help you on your journey. So Klaus, you have a very specific need today, and I'd like to just spend a couple minutes just talking about that. You need a beta tester, but you need some people of certain calibers, and you didn't have a certain level of context that come to this. So can you describe that real quick, please?
So we had a meeting last week with an investment broker specialized to work with startups. And what he was saying is basically, look, this is a very compelling product. It really sounds quite attractive. What you need is maybe just 2 or 3 competent companies that will say, yeah, this thing really works. You know, this dog hunts, so to speak. And then we can go out for money. And so they're talking about somewhere between $500,000 and $2 million, which would give us space to create an organizational support structure. Because when you roll that out, You need to have someone on the phone, available all the time. You need to set up training classes, you need to set up meetings and so on. So you need some staff, to handle all of that, and then some additional IT development, the communication.
You have something written off on your basically your like a cause, a case for cause or a case for support. Do you have something on those lines that you have sort of concisely documenting what you need?
All we have is draft.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you can get that to me, I'll put it up on the GRC iterative channel on the Slack channel, and I'll make sure to put on the normal request for help channel. I think it is as well. So, David asked a question: can you partner with groups like Steward? GoSteward.com. David, do you know about
it's like an investment group, I guess. I was trying to figure out if if you could. These guys are helping crowdsource, I think, investments in regenerative farming. And if you could somehow lay a layer of the AI intelligence on the potential of a piece of land, does that improve its ability to get funded, kind of something like that? So you're, part of the stack. You're not having to do the whole stack.
Right.
That's right. Klaus, can we get your
Do you know
contact
these
info?
guys at all? Klaus, have you run into Steward?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a couple of groups like this that are trying to organize investment for regenerative farmers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have been so, focused on the development of this thing. We just, pulled our heads up, and now that we have a website and we have an infrastructure and so on, we're now going out saying, what do we need to do from a marketing standpoint, communication standpoint, connection. So I really appreciate Sage having this opportunity, to come out with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But,
I think through our GRC resources, we should be able to find at least one person to kick the tires on this. So I request all of you, please go into your networks and see if there is someone who has the bandwidth and has the need to want to, come on here and support this. Uh, that said, everyone, we're at the top of the hour. We're at the end of the discussion. We already have some people dropping out. Klaus, thank you so much for coming on. I will make sure to get all your contact information on the summary of this, and I'll publish the minutes on this as well.
thank you. I'll send you some files, some sturdy files we just did that give you a little bit deeper insight. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on today. Appreciate it. I have some action items for who we're going to try to bring on for next week, and I hope we'll have someone great for you guys next week. So thank you all for showing up today. I appreciate you all, and thank you for bringing the questions. You guys did a great job. Klaus, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. David, you want to hang on? Nope, he's gone. All right, guys, I'm ending it. See you later.